All right, it's contest time, people.
Contest time.
We are doing a giveaway. Did you know that AMC is hosting private movie screenings starting at $100?
Get the fuck out of here.
No, I live here, but isn't that crazy? So we're giving away a $100 AMC gift card so you can rent your own movie theater. To enter, you have to follow us. You can follow me at Todd A. Johnson on Instagram or Jay at J_Connor. So that way you can find the link in our bio for this giveaway. Like I said, it's a $100 AMC gift card.
AMC gift card, baby.
You can have up to 20 people. They are being very safe with how they're sanitizing everything. But we're going to give you a $100 gift card to do what you want, to get your own private AMC movie screening. Right. Do you want to just watch a movie yourself? You want to invite a friend? You want to invite two guys who would probably want to go see a movie with you? You can do that. Or you can just tell us to fuck off. Whatever you want to do. But make sure to go and find us on Instagram so you can enter today.
3, 5. Make some noise!
All right, everybody, welcome to Making Noise. My name is Todd Johnson, and with me today is the teacher you can hear from the bleachers, Mr. Jay Connor.
What's up, y'all?
Hope y'all doing all right. We're very excited about our guest today.
Very.
This is the guest. He was so nice. We've had him on twice. But you will never see the first episode we did.
I wonder why, Todd.
Because we had technical difficulties.
What kind of technical difficulties did we have?
We had one of the cameras go out.
It just stopped working. I mean, that's what happens sometimes when you're...
It only missed like about 20 minutes.
Only 20 minutes.
But I didn't want to...
have to, yeah.
This guest is, so this is Brandon Mills. He's a fantastic mixologist who owns Stumptown Station. Bar in Matthews, North Carolina, and they offer plenty of amazing cocktails.
Great drinks.
And their signature one is the old fashioned that they make.
Yeah, he makes the old fashioned. He lights the orange peel on fire, like in fuego.
He does a good classic twist on an old fashioned where it still tastes like an old fashioned, but there's a lot of, I mean, it's the best one I've ever had. I am a sucker for a good old fashioned, and I mean, but he was nice enough that day to bring some with him.
Yes, he was.
And he also, I decided to match him drink for drink during
bad idea.
Which was horrible.
It's a bad idea for Todd.
It was horrible. So no one's ever going to see that interview or how it ended. I'm sure in our conversation with Brandon here in a little bit, he'll talk about it.
I'm sure.
So anyway, this is but this guy's so talented and he's so knowledgeable, and we're so happy that he came back to do this show again. So here's our second conversation with Mr. Brandon Mills. Woo!
We got there a lot faster this time than last time. I think we may have just set a record.
Oh, dude.
I love the coasters. What is this? My AOL sign-up disc?
I know these are.
It's a Todd Johnson
CD.
These are my old. I don't know what else to do with these CDs.
Well, yeah, no sense in giving them to people because they're not going to play them.
I can't give them away. Like I'll. This is the last batch. These have been rattling around my merch thing. I can't get rid of them. I had a girl come up at a show a week or two ago and was like, "What is this?" Which made me feel super old. And then
it's a compact disc, honey.
Well, and then I told her, I was like, you can just have it if you want. Like this is on Spotify. This album, that's where people are going to listen to it.
Yeah.
I was like, you can have it. And she's like, I don't have anything to play this on. So yeah, no, now they're just coasters.
I love it. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you once again for bringing the fabulous drinks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, today we are sipping on Rua, which is
delicious
a whiskey made here in Charlotte. Actually, it's made by Great Wagon Road. They're over in the Noda area of Charlotte, and I absolutely love these guys. I mean, we've had a long relationship with them since the beginning of opening Stumptown Station, and it's funny because I found them on accident. I don't know if I've actually told you this story.
No, how did you find them?
And you've been into the distillery. You've been there with me before, and it's a great time. And I found them on accident because we were going to open the bar, and I didn't really understand how the laws in North Carolina worked for having a liquor license, right? Okay. So I'm just like, hey, I know what I want to do. But there's probably a lot of people who want to get paid for me being able to do that, i.e. state government.
Right.
So I Googled like how we were going to have to set up because we don't sell food, so we're a private club.
Right.
And a private club, you have to have a membership, and ours is $5 for the year for up to 5 people, right? So basically it's $1 a year, right?
Right.
But anyway, so I Googled private club because I thought, well, where's that going to be? And after I got past the stuff that comes up when you Google private club, and I changed it to private bar,
Right.
I found Great Wagon Road, and they were over on South End back then.
Right.
And I just rolled over there, and there was this Irish guy sitting at the bar, and I'm like, man, this is such a cool place. He goes, oh, you like it? And I'm like, yeah, I love it. I think it's great. He goes, oh, you want to see where we make the whiskey? I'm like, you're
the guy.
You're the guy. Yeah. He's like, yeah, it's Irish whiskey. I'm like, well, boy, way to authenticate, you know, like it's perfect. So yeah, he showed me around, and we've been fast friends ever since. His name's Ollie. He's
That's
awesome.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, Ollie. Yeah,
yes,
you've met
you
Ollie.
Yeah. You brought at one point hooked me up with some of their gin.
Yeah.
Which
that's
I'm not a big gin guy, but man, it was very good.
And that's that's
very
what,
good.
so, and I don't know where we are in this process, but let's go ahead.
Sure.
And that's what we do at Stumptown Station. We focus on local craft liquors, right? So, last time we were together, we were drinking Old Fashions, which was made all with local ingredients. So we use the Rua from Great Wagon Road. We actually use Oak City Amaretto out of Raleigh, which is spectacular. We use Brother Vigali's, I always pronounce it wrong. I think it's called Krumpnikus. It's a really nice, like whole spiced spirit to marinate our cherries, and so we mix all that together into a really cool old fashioned. Because the trick to an old fashioned is, it's pretty basic. You have a sugar cube, some bitters, a little bit of orange, some cherry if you want to go ahead and do that, and then whiskey. So because it has a really old history, which is why they call it that. But we actually just sub out the sugar for amaretto, and it actually makes a fantastic cocktail.
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, I mean, we've talked about this plenty of times, and we probably will repeat ourselves because just in case, this is the second time we've done this episode because
it was so great the first time.
It was so great the first time we had to do it. Also, there may have been somebody, I'm not pointing any fingers, but the old fashions that you made.
I don't want to raise any glasses to anybody.
We don't want to say.
So nice we had to do it twice.
I will say I was impressed because we went through a full bottle of cocktails, which had probably, I'd say
leans a little more one side of this table, I think.
I don't know. I did my fair share. I think if we went back, actually, that might be fun for like the little blooper reel at the end of this one. Maybe we go back and just count how many times we refilled the cups.
I know, because we keep saying it's like just a little bit this time.
I only had like 1.5. I know that.
True. Yeah, no, you were good.
When we talked about it at the end, I felt bad about myself because you were like, guys, I only had 1.5. And I'm like, you definitely had Yeah. So it was fun though.
The best part about it was Todd like 3 hours later.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I told you this. I got a little sick.
You did tell me that, and you said it was more than a little, and I was pretty excited about that. Yeah. Well, I mean, that was what I was saying. Is like we hammered a bottle of cocktails in 40 minutes.
40 minutes during the episode.
Yeah. I mean,
it was
an entire.
It was a blast, but I mean,
bottle.
as soon as you guys left, is when it was hitting me in a way that was.
Yeah. Oof. Well, I mean, if you're gonna drink like that, it's got to be like taking vitamins. You got to do a little bit every day. You know.
Yeah. That's not. But man,
you have to condition your liver to be ready for the alcohol.
Yeah,
this is true.
Where my liver is just a vacant sign. It's just that's all it is.
Just goes passes right through.
Yeah.
Oh man, one thing that we didn't touch on last time is we talked about how long you've been at Stumptown Station, which was how long again?
So we opened in August of 17.
Okay, so, August of 17.
Yeah, so we've been there for a little while, but we've been closed since March.
Right.
So of
the
COVID
2020.
Year of 2020, yeah.
Right. You haven't been. I always had this impression.
Yeah,
that you've been doing this for such a long time. But like, where did it come to for starting Stumptown Station, and how did you get into there?
So the medium version of this story, is because there's only so much editing, right? So the medium.
I wouldn't be
version,
so sure, man. This entire conversation is going to be 3 seconds.
Yeah, I had to make sure I was wearing the same shirt, so just you could piece thing together.
If we want to use it again.
Although I think I got a haircut, so Anyway, I'm going to go from Harry.
We got to make sure the right guitars are behind you and everything.
That's right. That's a good point.
I don't think the calendar was there before either.
No, the calendar with the men wasn't up there before. It's for the bartenders. It's supporting bartenders in Plaza Midwood.
Oh, I like it.
They put that out, so it's all these. It's called the Men of Midwood.
Wow,
it's a pretty rad calendar.
So what I think is cool is that you've got this one hanging over here, and then you have the other 40 copies in the corner that they can't see from the cameras. I think that's pretty nice.
Yeah, blown up. All the men and very large pictures. Blown
is that
up.
the cardboard cutouts going down the hall? Like every one of the bartenders. That's nice. Yeah.
Well, that way I play when I practice, I feel like I'm not playing alone. You know.
Nicely handled, Todd. Very nicely done. So your question was,
how'd you get started?
So the medium version of this story. This is how we drank an entire bottle last time.
It is. It
Oh, God.
100% is.
So the medium version of that story is I was actually working for Yum Brands. I worked for Pizza Hut at the time, which is how I ended up in North Carolina from Columbus, Ohio, because I'm originally from Ohio.
Right.
And so I just got tired of making somebody else money. You know, I got tired of working in an industry where, you know, you're working 100 hours a week and, you know, you're on salary, so there's no overtime or anything like that. And I just got tired of being in a place where I was making money for somebody else. And I decided, you know what, I want to make money for myself. So I'm going to open my own bar and I'm going to make like a third of the money and that'll be awesome. And it was correct. And, but, you know, I was sitting around with my buddies. We were playing, we played softball together. Me and my buddies were playing softball and we were sitting around in the garage afterwards and having cocktails and all that. And we're like, man, we really need a great cocktail bar. And we would talk about, yeah, well, what if we did this or what if we did that? Because I'd been in restaurants forever since I was 14 years old. You know, I was working in some sort of food service. What ended up happening was we would talk all the time. Hey, what if we did this at our bar? What if we did this at our bar? And it always became our bar, our bar, our bar. And we talked about it forever, for a number of years. And eventually I just got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm not talking about it anymore. Either we're going to open a bar or we're not talking about it anymore. Because this is like every time I come over, it's like a little more of a reality. So let's either jump or stop talking about it. And lo and behold, we got a really great deal on a spot. And we had some people come in with us, and that ended up changing around, and it ended up, you know, in the end, it ended up being me and my business partner, Bob Klein. And we love what we're doing. Now, the funny part is that I had never bartended before opening a craft cocktail lounge.
Right.
And that's the really weird part, the thing that people are surprised by. And honestly, I made it a habit, right? So we've, you know, we go back and forth a lot about the 10,000 hours, right?
Right.
So it takes 10,000 hours to become a master at something. I don't consider myself a master at all, but I'm putting in as many hours as I can. So I sat down and talked to bartenders, watched YouTube videos, read books. You know, there's some great cocktailing books out there. Started looking into cooking and how cooking works and how to, you know, blend flavors and do all those kind of things. And I wanted to kind of round the whole skill set, right? Instead of just saying, I could put whiskey in a glass and be personable, which is step one, you know, of being a bartender, of being a good bartender. You know, I knew the business side. I knew what I needed to do there, but I didn't know what it was like to live behind the pine.
Right. How do you step up into being an actual mixologist, a craft cocktail maker, knowing everything that you're breaking down and that you're doing?
Yeah. And it becomes such an obsession where it's like, and some people call it alcoholism. I think no, but it really does. It becomes an obsession where it's like, I have to learn everything I can about this particular brand, but I treat it as an ingredient, you know, as a chef would, as a good chef or great cook, you know, whatever you want to call yourself.
Absolutely.
There, as they would, you know, it's all about starting with the right ingredients and doing the right things with those ingredients. So if you've got a great gin, you know, and how are you going to use that gin to not bruise it, to make sure your final product looks the way that it's supposed to look, that it not only is appetizing to the palate, but also to the eyes and to the nose and to all the senses that are there. I just became obsessed with it, and it worked out great, you know, and I purchased my practice for them. You know, I didn't have to go out and get a job and convince somebody that I had any idea what the hell I was doing.
Right.
Because I had already done that with my buddies in the garage. You know, I had already convinced them that I knew what was going on. And honestly, it's the only reason why we're here today. You know, not the only reason, but one of the major reasons why we're here today is because we put so much faith in the process. We put so much of we are going to try every single day to do the right thing. You know, it's for me, it's always quality product is our number one thing. That's it. You will never have a bad drink at my bar. You will never have a drink that you don't enjoy. I will never serve a drink that you don't enjoy.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a couple there too, and they've all been pretty tasty.
And the thing is that if I pour you a bad drink, I don't care if I'm here in your studio, you know, and I pour something that you don't like, I'll remake it because it's a little bit of my reputation that I put in the glass, just like, you know, everybody, you know, all those cooks and chefs and all those people that are world class.
Absolutely.
You know, they do that as well. So, you know, and we said, we're going to reinvest everything. So we took everything that we made and put it back into the bar, you know, upgraded this, upgraded that, whatever we needed to do to become the place that we wanted to be. We had a starting point. we had an objective point, not an end by any stretch of the imagination, but an objective point, and we've got those stair steps the whole way, and it really proved well for us. So
with COVID and everything going on right now, I know that you guys have done some bar renovations. What are some of the things that you've gone in and done now that you've kind of in a weird way been forced to have time to have the doors closed?
Our coolest thing, one of my favorite parts of our bar is that we have a North Carolina white oak tree as our bar top. So it's obviously, fashioned and looks like a bar top, but it's one solid piece of North Carolina white oak because we wanted to keep everything as local as we could, right?
Absolutely.
Back to our roots. And that's
Farm to table bar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's actually lightning struck church parking lot to bar, but it worked out great. So we didn't even have to cut the tree down. It was already down. But yeah, we had this great bar top, and it was a natural bar top. So it's a piece of wood, and it moves and breathes and does all those things that, whiskey barrels do. And it's just cool to be able to explain it, to be able to look at this large piece of wood and say, look at these cracks and look at this. Well, eventually it's a living piece of wood. It just starts to look bad.
Yeah. It
and
needs
we were
some
3
maintenance.
years in, and we thought, it was actually our March 2020 product. So we were closed down on St. Patrick's Day in March of 2020. And,
the best day for a bar to close down.
Yeah, that's when we found out. It was 5:00 on St. Patrick's Day. And it was like, oh man, this is just, it was miserable. And so we ended up where we were like, okay, well, we're going to be closed for 5 weeks. So we'll end up dealing with this.
Right.
And we decided we had a small hump in the bar. It was a very small hump in the bar. Mm-hmm. And it was just enough to tilt a drink as you passed it across the bar, just enough to make it move, and people go, whoa, what's that? So we're like, oh, let's shave it off. We'll take care of it. It'll be great. It won't take us any time at all. Took us all 5 weeks. It
Really?
was a nightmare to do, but now it looks fantastic, but we had no idea what we were doing. And that's kind of what it is. We've taught ourselves everything along the way, and it's worked out fantastically so far, other than global pandemic or whatever, but
minus
that's outside
that
of our
part.
control, I'd say.
Minus that part.
Yeah.
And I know that this is always the tough thing to know, because it's like, I feel like people will constantly ask you or me, or, we talked to, someone at Neighborhood Theater recently, and there was this kind of like the same thing of like, so when is everything going back to normal? And it's like, we don't know. We know just as little as anyone else. But for you guys, is there anything at the moment, which I know it could change weekly, since you are a private bar restaurant, is there anything that you guys can do at the moment, or is it doors shut down completely?
It's a funny, that's
or
a
that
funny
you guys
question.
would want to do.
Yeah, it's
as
a funny
well?
question because that's really the ticket there is, what works. We're talking about, there's a few things we can do. We can serve outside. Well, currently it's, cold.
Right.
It's winter.
Right.
True.
It's rainy all the time.
Yep.
So we can serve outside. Okay, great. Please come drink in the street. That's, we can also do some to-go cocktails, but the restrictions in North Carolina sort of prevent a small place like ours in our location from doing that. And that's a whole nother we can do an episode where I come back and talk about North Carolina liquor law. That would be a lot of fun. We'll get good and drunk for that one. But anyway, so the laws are just sort of prohibitive. Let's put it that way.
Right.
So right now, no, we're targeting warmer weather or a relaxation in standards, and we can go back inside. Even at half capacity, we would be fine. But bars are under a different requirement than restaurants are because COVID's afraid of French fries, and we don't have them. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I have heard that it's or popcorns or paninis.
Yeah.
Paninis.
And obviously, I get the purpose. I understand, and I don't want to. There's nothing political about it. I just think that's a funny joke.
True. Well, and also too, at no point would any of us want to, be in a, get as many people in a crowded place on top of each other. Obviously.
Well, and my business partner's wife is in healthcare, so she's actually an ICU nurse. So that there's a level of ownership we have to take towards what our establishment could create.
Absolutely.
For just that, just those folks. So, and my wife's in education, and it's just tough to say, yeah, let's go do this because we can, and especially when we were opening outdoors, and we tried it, and it just wasn't worth it all the way around. When you look at every single category, it just wasn't worth it.
Right.
So
right. Yeah, I know it's. I mean, hang in there, buddy. It's gonna, I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, we're definitely not going anywhere.
Yeah,
that's the best part is we know we're going to be there. I mean, there's no way this can outlast us at this point.
Perfect.
So yeah, we're definitely going to be there. And the cool thing is that I get to do stuff like this. I get to come out and do little events, and I get to we do in-home events. We'll do all sorts of stuff where we can come, and I've gotten to the point where now I've got my entire bar set up in my trunk pretty much at all times, which is pretty great. It makes me very popular. More so at parties and less so at church, but yeah.
Yeah, it made you popular here in December when you stopped over.
That's right. Man, I can't believe that was that long ago. It seems like
I know.
It just happened.
It was a while back.
I'm still getting over it, I think.
Yeah, I think we're still recovering.
Speaking of which, we'll go ahead and...
You gonna go ahead and do a little bit of a top off for yourself there?
I'd hate for me to go dry on this, but
I'll
leave you alone. I'll leave you alone. It's fine.
Hold on. You know what?
Todd's probably going to need some more.
I'll need some more, but we'll wait. I'll wait a little bit.
You just drink your bourbon, man. I mean, oh my bad. I mean whiskey.
It's whiskey.
Okay, it's whiskey.
Yeah, it's an American-made whiskey, and
because it wasn't made in Kentucky, right?
And that's one of the major
bourbon
fallacies.
Thing?
Yeah, that's one of the major fallacies about bourbon.
Okay.
Is that not okay? So number one, all bourbons are whiskeys.
All
but
bourbons
not all
are whiskeys,
are bourbons,
but not all
right?
whiskeys are bourbons.
Right, like all thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs.
Okay.
Right. So that's.
I'm going to say that all the time now.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I use it constantly. It's the easiest way to explain. One thing can be the other, but not backwards.
Right. Understand.
And we actually teach a class. I actually call it the ABCs of Bourbon. So A through G it has to be American made. So actually all 50 states as of, I believe, 2017, please don't quote me on that, hashtag whatever. So
please send us your email to cancel.
Yeah.
Cancel him.
Yeah, that'd be great. Anyway,
not Alaska, sir. Cancel him.
Yeah, every state, and actually the last one to produce was Hawaii. And the reason why is because it's so hard to get the required ingredients
to Hawaii.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So yeah, it's American made. It has to be made in America. So bourbon is a specifically American product, which is pretty cool. The other one is it has to be barrel aged. So the bourbon has to be aged in a brand new white oak barrel. So whereas Scotch can use Jack Daniel's barrels or whatever that is, bourbon specifically has to be aged in a brand new white oak barrel. And then the aging process, varies from distiller to distiller, but that's the requirement there. So American made, A. B, barrel. C is corn. It has to be made with corn. So whereas the whiskey we're drinking here is a barley mash, bourbon has to be 51% corn.
Yeah, it's got to be at least.
So so when they make the mash that they distill, right? It's distilling is a sugar, a process, a scientific process of boiling this mash where alcohol is made from yeast, and alcohol boils at a lower temperature, so it evaporates at a lower temperature or a higher temperature, lower temperature than water, and it's it runs through the still. So you've seen those old fashioned stills or whatever.
Right,
they have those big coils. That's what it is. They're condensing it down.
Thumper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A little MASH 4077 if you go back to that. Yeah. So then you have the distillation proof.
Okay.
So that's the ABC, right? Is American made barrel corn. That's the big notes there. Because you can also have a rye, right? But a rye is 51% rye. So it may still have that same ingredient list as long as 51% of it is rye. Now it's a rye. So that's where you'll get a wild turkey bourbon and a wild turkey rye. So, but it has to come off the still at 160 proof. So when you're talking about the water mixture and all of the science that goes into that, when you distill it, it has to be 160 proof. So now we have D, distillation proof, right?
Right.
E is the entry proof. So when it comes off of the still, it has to be dropped down to 125 proof to go into the barrel.
And how do they drop it?
Water. So the only thing that can be added to bourbon is water. There can be no other ingredients added to bourbon. There can be no coloration. There can be none of that stuff in order to be called a bourbon. Now you can have, there's some weird rules on blended bourbons and all those kind of things. There's some other rules there, but we're talking about just straight
bourbon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then you have to reduce the proof to do the entry proof. Then from there, so that's E, entry proof. F is the fill proof. So it has to be over 80 proof, above 80 proof when you go into the bottle. And there's a lot of really cool rules that go back to why that is. But primarily at 80 proof is where you get a good flavor.
Okay.
So between 80 to some of those, like we actually carry a bottle that was the Whiskey of the Year in 2017, which is an Elijah Craig single barrel release. And it's like 121 point change proof. And it's great. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, but it's a single barrel proof that over time, it kind of reduces because it evaporates and Angel's Share and Devil's Cut and all that. But you lose some volume. But you get such a really cool flavor off that. And then the last one is Genuine. So Genuine is where you can't add anything to it. So it absolutely has
Once
to
it's
be
bottled.
just what's in the bottle. So, and it's a cool, the history of bourbon and whiskey and all that kind of stuff is really neat because what ended up happening was, and this is the version of this story that I know, right? So I obviously think it's gospel because I'm the one telling the story.
Right.
But it may not be the
So it is for this show.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
But the version of the story I enjoy most is that, so when the Americas were forming, right, they were basically giving out land to people to farm because we had to feed the populace, right? So they come over and they say, hey, well, we know how to grow barley from back home, wherever back home is, but they grow barley there. It's great for wheat. It's great for corn. Why don't we put all this stuff together and see what happens? Well, corn has that really nice sweetness to it, which is why bourbon is a sweet product. You have a lot of sweeter bourbons. So what ends up happening is they produce too much. Well, when you produce too much of a grain, eventually it goes bad. So you can't take it to market. Well, you can put it in a bottle and it's not going to go bad.
Right. Absolutely.
So then they start saying, well, we're going to have this product that we're going to sell. Well, I could extend that, right? As long as it's the right color, I could extend it, right? Which is now where the bottle proof, right? The 80 proof comes from.
Right.
Because eventually they're watering, bartenders back in the day or bar owners, whatever it may be, they're watering it down. So much so that the government steps in and starts saying, hey, we're going to give you a break on your taxes if you'll let us certify your product. And that's where you have bottled and bond. So you ever buy the bottled and bond where it has that strap across the top that says U.S. Treasury? That's what it is. It's a guaranteed, but every single bottle and bond will always be 100 proof. It's guaranteed to be 100 proof. Now, whether the quality is any good or not is not up to the U.S. government. It's just that stating you have, as a consumer, it's 100 proof.
You're not going to want it down.
Yeah. It's funny. They do that in other countries too. Like Germany has the lines on the glasses, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the bartender's supposed. That's where that beer goes. It goes to that line. That's how much you're paying for it. This is how much you're getting.
I've seen a few different places that'll do that, but it's usually more like a wine bar, and they've started getting glasses with the lines on them because people feel
just
like
be
they're
too
getting,
big of pours.
Right.
Well,
people feel like they're getting gypped, and they're like,
Yeah.
that's not enough. It's like, no, this is where you pour the wine.
Yeah, so you have the German system of this is precise and measured and perfect, right?
That doesn't sound German at all.
Then you have the American capitalist version where it's the glass has a line on it, but it's actually lower than where it should be. But because the rule that it's supposed to be poured to the line, it's actually lower. Right. So what's funny is there's glassware I see for sale all the time. It's like, oh yeah, it's a line at, here's a shot line at 0.75 ounces. And I'm like, well, that's not a whole.
That's not a shot.
That's not a shot, but it's there.
Yeah.
And, whenever I've poured they've had those glasses and I've poured some liquor in there, everybody's gone, oh man, I got you. Thanks. I appreciate it. And I'm like, man, you're getting hosed, but thanks. I appreciate it. I'm trying to do the right thing.
You just got to play the game sometimes, man.
Exactly.
You just got to play the game.
But yeah. So that's my little boring. Obviously I stretched that class into 2 hours. So, you got it in 6 minutes or whatever. But
that's fantastic. No, I would. Is there drinking at the end of the class, or just talking about it
the whole time? That's how I stretch it into 2 hours. Yeah.
Oh, I was about to say, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because in the beginning everybody's like, oh my god, this guy's so boring. So it's easy to teach a class or to be entertaining when people are drinking. So I heavily encourage
I've made a
people
career
who are
off
listening
of
to
it.
me. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've made a career off of people drinking while I'm performing.
I think part of this intro for this show should be pour yourself a drink.
Yes.
And then whatever Todd Johnson song plays. I don't know what that would be, but
yeah, I mean, I'm very excited with the show. One of the things that we're doing that I don't think anyone else really fucking notices, but I think it's neat, is we're taking any of our songs that we put out before or demos that we've been working on or anything like that, and we make that the bumper music between like to say, when we go, and here's Brandon Mills, and then it'll always be like like that the Bob Barker music coming out it's always something like that. And so, like at times, like I'll do something where it's, we'll solo Jay's sax solo on a song or something like that. But now that we're talking about it, have to make whatever the bumper music is the weirdest sounding deep cut.
It's going to be horrible.
I love it. Yeah.
Oh,
it might even be something off of this coaster here. I mean, you might have to
actually,
find
you know
something
what?
off that
You know
coaster.
what? We will do something. I'll do a song for your bumper music for your episode. It'll be something off this coaster.
It might have to be self-explanatory. I mean, that's a title of a
Self-explanatory was the name of the album because a lot of the songs were very
self-explanatory.
Yes. I feel like even the title is what it is. Right? It just makes perfect sense. You didn't even have to name it. You could have just called it music, and everybody would have gone, I know what that is. It's pretty self-explanatory.
And honestly, at that time, it was a little inspired by the Black Keys because they put out one of the best smartest album covers I think I've ever seen was this is an album by the Black Keys. The name of this album is called Brothers, and that was the album cover. And I just always, and on the CD, I think it says this is the CD that is the album. It's something like that. Like it was, you know. So there's a little bit of like, I just want to be blank. It's self-explanatory, but it is what it is. But
and see,
and it went great. We went aluminum on the record. It was fantastic.
That explains the trash can lid hanging on the wall as well behind the 40 calendars.
Yeah,
that are over
exactly.
It's our bounce. It's our very expensive bounce.
Yeah, it's again, to make the same joke again. It's the only CD that has both music and an AOL install from 1996.
It does.
It's perfect. Yeah, you can get your email, but it's just electronic mail.
This is only 10 minutes. It's only 10 minutes per. That's why I have so many of them. I could just run through them every time I'm going online to check my email.
Yeah.
Todd wished that he had gotten mail. That's why he made this CD. He didn't get any mail.
Well, that seems pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. No, this record honestly was one of those. This album launched the Revolvers because I did this. I just moved to Charlotte and set everything up in my brother's basement. I didn't have anywhere to go, and all I had was a drum kit, some microphones, and like 3 shirts. So I set all of my shit up and my mics and my gear and was like, well, let me just make sure everything works. And just kind of get going, made this record. And I was like, sweet, let me try to get out and play with it. But the problem was I'd played everything on the record. I'd played all the instruments. And so as soon as I was like, let me book a live show, I was like, how the fuck am I going to do this live? And anyone I knew were, this is before I met Jay, but they were all people like Jay who were musicians who had other bands. And so it would kind of be one of those things where it's like, I can help you out. I could play on Saturday, but I can't play on Friday.
Oh, geez.
And then I'd find another guy who could play on Friday, but not on Saturday. So that was kind of like this album launched the Revolvers of like, what if it's just a revolving band? And we go for it. So we barely play anything on this record, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, my voice was completely shot. I lost my voice for months. And was completely shot when I did this record. So like I'll go back and listen to it, and it's like if Batman were to sing you a record. It's like
I love it.
Like a Batman love song. One night in Gotham. From a kiss from a rose on a grave. Ooh.
Now you got to go get the licensing. That's not going to work. I mean, that was clearly spot on. We're going to know exactly.
Everybody knows exactly what song you're singing, Tom.
Yeah.
My hope is that my Batman voice, which transcended because Jay just did it.
I know, I do it all the time though. So it's like it's like people expect it from me.
That's yeah. It's the jazz radio voice.
Cover the front of your. Are you Batman?
I'm Batman.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
What they do in the movie? They do the whole thing where they got to hold it out. Oh my God, that's hideous both ways.
It's definitely me.
Even if I just look through the hole,
I know, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Don't look through the hole.
Beep. Not before paying.
This is actually something I find fascinating about sitting here with you two. Is somehow
while you talk, I'm going to get some whiskey.
Yeah, go for it. Well, number one, I'm pretty sure didn't McCartney do a tune where he played everything on the. Like he played every interest or a whole album or something?
Yeah. How did you pop out some Paul McCartney?
That was going to be my next point.
You know nothing about anything with music.
Zero about music, but I know one thing, and I think he at least played on one song because I have this factoid. He at least played one song where he played all the instruments, but that's what that made me think of. But you still managed to bring me to music conversation every time I talk to you, and I have zero information about music.
Yeah, I would love to put this to the test. I don't know if we could do this due to the licensing rights by any means of getting all this, but there have been times where like Tom Petty's American Girl, right, Jay, is playing through the speakers. And it'll start and just like, what song is this? And I mean...
It's astonishing.
I mean, it is how completely far off the mark he is, but also how he legitimately thinks
He's right.
that he's right.
Yeah, I'm convinced.
You know, he's like Bryan Adams. I'm like, how? Where did you get that from?
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a song that makes me think of like, American flags and all that. So I'm going to start with like Bruce and then go to Hendrix and then start working my way down to other people who may or may not have played Woodstock. And then we arrive at, who was it? Tom Petty.
Yeah. Tom Petty didn't play Woodstock. That's
see,
okay.
But I mean, that's where I'm starting. That's the logic. The logic is there. Everybody starts in the 60s. Everything for me.
Do they?
Yeah. But whenever you ask me a song, it's either Cher, because that's my first guess on every song.
Even if it's
easy,
not a woman
right.
singing.
If it's not a woman singing, then I go with Prince, because I don't like saying more than one word about when I guess.
Okay.
True. I did have a moment where I thought it'd be good if I just started going by Todd.
Todd.
Yeah.
Like it's already just so basic enough, but I feel like if I'm just Todd, like if I went by a persona as like a rapper or something, I was just Todd, I would really have to lean into being the most boring white person you've ever seen.
You could just call yourself just Todd.
I don't think you'd have to lean into that.
Well, every time I
just think you got it figured out already. I think you're fine.
I knew where that was
true.
going. I knew where it was going.
That's true.
So I was already laughing.
Well, every time there's a Todd on TV, it's like
He's doing the weather.
He's doing the weather. It's the guy who is the rich villain who is in an a cappella group at the tennis court. Yeah, what was the Trading Places?
Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and
yes, Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah,
Dan Aykroyd's who he loses his wife or girlfriend to. His name is Todd. And he's down at the country club, and she even says, like, through the whole movie, "Oh, Todd does this," and every time she does it, I fucking cringe. I love that movie, but he's the bad guy.
Todd equals Chad from the 80s.
okay.
Yes,
That's what it is, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Todd is a Chad of the 80s,
But old and boring and white.
yeah,
That's perfect.
His
Yeah.
wife's name is Karen.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
My mom's name is Karen.
Hard edit. We've taken part of this interview and put it on our YouTube page. So make sure to check out episode 7.5 on our YouTube page. Also, the secret code word for this week to win the $100 AMC gift card is company. That's all capital letters, COMPANY. You can find the contest at my Instagram page, Todd A. Johnson, in the link in the bio, or you can go to makingnoisepod.com and click on the link at the top that says contest. The code word is company.
You can buy these pins.
PIN?
No, a pin.
Oh,
like you're going to
PEN.
write
Like a
it
write
with
with?
Okay,
PEN,
gotcha.
and it has a little thing on it, and you pull it out, and it has like marketing or a business card or like a promo for an
See, I
item.
needed that in high school with like the periodic table.
Exactly.
That'd have been perfect.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
That'd have been
Just like
perfect.
all the answers on the test.
Yeah.
Oh,
That'd have been caught immediately.
dude,
too.
how
Zero chill.
I would imagine that you were probably like a pretty good, like, because we've talked about this, and you will give me a chemistry lesson on how to make a drink.
Yeah.
Were you good at chemistry, or were you
Absolutely
like, nope?
not. I was terrible at school. I was absolutely
Really?
terrible because I wasn't interested in it. Yeah, I was
You didn't
absolutely
have something
terrible.
to apply it
Were
to.
you interested
yeah.
in drinking?
I was. Yeah.
There
Right.
we go. That
Turned
makes
out
total
great.
sense
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I'm the same
yeah.
way. Like,
Yeah.
I was not interested in algebra at all until taking an acoustics class in college and was like, oh, this shit actually applies
Yes.
to
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
Yeah, I could never figure out percentages in my head, and then I got a real estate license.
Wow.
And now it's like, oh, there it is. Yeah, all of a sudden.
Oh,
yeah.
when you start playing with my money, now
yeah,
I know.
yeah, no, it's perfect. Yeah,
How long
it was,
have you been in real estate?
Actually, that's the funny part. I have had my real estate license since 2003. I started it in Ohio and then carried it down to North Carolina.
wow.
Yeah, so I've been doing that for a very long time.
Oh,
So,
great.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing that because it's plus at the end cocktails.
Yeah,
that's
best
great.
part. It
Yeah.
all leads around to that.
Yeah.
How long? Mention of cocktails. How long did it take for you to like come up with exactly like this is going to be the old fashioned like your menu before you guys open? Because I know that you were talking about we've always constantly talked about the 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
But like when
Menu casting in general, or like menu creation in general, menu creation in general is a very tough thing because there's so much failure that goes into it. I'm sure very much like making an album or producing music of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. There's so much bad before you find the good. And a lot of times the good's right there and you know it's right there and you just can't find that spice, whatever that thing is. They get you, and I know you know exactly. I can see. You're like, I know exactly what you're talking. Yeah, and it's just that happens. So often.
Can we just on a loop just have him go?
But that quite literally is what it is. It's a, when you start out, I would say once every year, I have to reground my ideas. Right. So that's kind of why. So I consider myself to have one of the best old fashions out there. You know what I mean? I would put my drink up against many, many, many others. And I'm sure there's fantastic mixologists that have been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years, their whole lives, that have very, very strong competitive drinks that are better, which is fine. I'm okay with that. But I think mine is very, very good. And I've tried so hard to make the old-fashioned perfect in my mind, right? Mm-hmm. So just the classic recipe that I mentioned to you before, a little bitters, a little sugar, a little whiskey, a little orange, and then take it from there to go weird places. The problem is that you end up sometimes way out here in the clouds and you forgot what your base was.
Absolutely.
So all the time I find that I have to recenter and go back and just enjoy the ingredient, right? And just sip on the whiskey.
Right.
And then sip on the whiskey with a little bitter, sip on the whiskey with a little sugar, a little water, put it all together and say, this is what this is supposed to be at its core. Now I can go again,
What made me really happy in what you just said is that, like, I will take this old fashioned, I'll put it up against any other. I mean, it's not. I think that more people in any creative endeavor need to be able to own the work that they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And it makes it so much more interesting for whoever's consuming it, even on like a smaller level, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've put the work in, this is good, you're good, versus like there will be times where I'll have people send demos into me. I've had a few demos sent into me recently where it was sold like, hey, this is this new song I'm working on. It's kicking around some ideas. I'm thinking I kind of want to do it, And like the ownership of it is like already takes me out of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And see, my theory, I guess you have to have a certain level. I take that back. You have to have a certain level of arrogance to be a bartender. You just have to. You have to have that weird bravado that you just have to. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's a thing. Because I, in my mind, would send you my CD and say, "Hey, man, I figured I'd give you a shot at this, but I can't figure out how you're going to make it much better." And it's going to be garbage. It's going to be me playing a harmonica off key, singing, Mary Had a Little Lamb. And it's like, I'm sorry. It's going to sell 1 million copies. I'll tell you what it won't be is a coaster at some point where I just think that's the funniest thing. I love it.
Oh, well, I honestly, this is the main reason I used to do this. I would used to make a joke back in the day or something, like playing shows of like, buy a CD, please. It's supportive. Do whatever you want. If you don't like it, make it a coaster.
Yeah.
Like I used to make that joke. Well, at the same time,
I've also said the name of the, you know what I mean? Like I've picked it.
Right. I'm sorry, what was the name of the album that you're talking about?
I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, but it is self-explanatory, Todd Johnson. You can find it on origins at, what was it? Smallmusic.org.sound with Todd.
AOL.email.
AOL.netscape.
/Bandcamp.
Yeah. I think it's now out on Internet Explorer.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it just came out on Internet
Fresh
Explorer.
drop on the old IE. Yeah.
Fresh drop.
Can I download it on Napster?
Yeah.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Awesome.
I remember being in a band when we were much younger, and this one guy was like, "Guess what I did? I just put our album out on Napster." He's like, "Fuck it, because people would have it," and it was the biggest fight that band ever had over a record that never sold anything, nor was downloaded on Napster.
Nobody gave a shit about it.
Nobody gave a shit about it.
That's tough.
But just like 2 other dudes in the band gave him so much shit, and it was just this most ridiculous, like, funny thing about like how serious you think you are. But going back to kind of that same thing, there is a balance, right? Of like saying, I can put here's my harmonica album of Mary Had a Little Lamb, but it sounds horrible. Same thing of like, this is my old fashioned, this is what it is, and I know this, but you're also saying it and you're backing it up,
Yeah. You have to be able to put your effort in.
Well, I think that any sort of creatives, if you can, and I would consider you that with what you do for sure. Like, you have to have the balance of going, this is the best thing I've ever done. This is great. It also has so much more room for, improvement in my craft of what I do.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that this nugget is good or bad or not fantastic.
Yeah.
But I put in the work on it. It's great. And I love to see that, and I love to hear that from somebody that I know has worked really hard on it.
Yeah.
Because I
think a fun way to look at it is, I know it's good, and I'm confident that I'm good because I know I suck. You know what I mean? It's like the reason why I know it's good is
Yes.
because I know I'm bad at this, you know?
That is
and it's
exactly.
like it becomes such an obsession to try and okay, this is, I all of the failures make the successes important.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where it comes. I mean, that's why you only get a certain number of songs on a CD. That's why you only have,
Right.
albums that are curated the way that they're done. And that's just, I think it's a really cool way to look at it. So, yeah.
Well, it's like if I go to a restaurant and there's a 12-page menu,
Yeah.
it's like, well, what is it that you do good?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you can't do all of these good.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing of when you like every single thing I've had in your bar, and I'm usually just the guy who's going to get like a whiskey drink or maybe beer. But I have traveled around your menu, and I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It really is.
And it's funny that you bring that up because I constantly get into conversations. We actually carry about 20 recipes on our menu at any time. So we do seasonal menus. So that means 4 menus a year, 20 recipes at a time. Now, we also kind of keep our house menu the same. So I guess that sort of answers the question like, oh, what are you good at? Well, these house menu items don't change. These are the things that they work their way on. We have a bracket system for how drinks get on the menu.
Right.
So we actually ran a contest last year with just some of our regulars where everybody submitted a cocktail recipe and we featured it for a month. And everybody voted, and it basically voted by purchasing. We told people, hey, we're running a little contest, and we had a bracket, and the last person got on the menu. And it was a lot of fun.
wow.
It
That is
ended up
cool.
being really cool. And it's funny to watch going back to like how sometimes you have to boil it back down to the basics. I mean, the ones that got on that were the most purchased were the old fashions and the Manhattans and those kind of
Right.
margaritas,
Right.
It wasn't the Corpse Survivor #2 or the, all of those kind of fancy, the
Right.
martini with a dozen different ingredients. And it was never that stuff. It was, oh yeah, you know what, that old fashioned from Jerry looks great. Let's go ahead and, let's do that,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, at some point, if you're just throwing ingredients in something, it's like throwing ingredients in soup or stew, and then after a while, all the flavors just end up not complementing each other.
Yeah, you just get mud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and so we've actually had this conversation a few times. There's 4 things that go into a cocktail, right? Liquor, water, bitter, and sweet.
Yep.
And 2 cancel 2, right? So
Okay.
when we were talking about distillation and all that stuff, and to lower the proof of liquor, you add water, and that's it. Liquor is always offset by water. So if you have a drink that's too strong, you don't need to say, oh, well, I don't like that. No, just water it down a little bit. And water it down however you want to water it down,
Right.
And then bitter and sweet, when you add lime juice or lemon juice or any of those tart ingredients or bitters, and we've had that conversation. Bitters is my favorite ingredient because it's the salt and pepper or ketchup in salt and pepper I think is a great way to look at it in a recipe.
Right.
Because a little bit goes so far and it'll blend so many things. It carries so many things together and it rounds edges and it blends flavors and it does all these really cool things that salt does with a chef.
Right, it enhances.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
And so, those 4 ingredients, as long as you find a balance, then
Right.
everything turns out great. And it's funny, in one of the little classes that I teach, we do like a beginner's cocktail class where I teach you how to be the best bartender at your next party, right? Because I teach you how to make one recipe that ends up being 4 or 5 different ingredients. You just switch out the liquor, right? And the goal of that is to, when you put everything in the shaker tin and you mix it all together, it doesn't have a smell. And now, it's the joke became, well, in 2020, if it doesn't have a smell, you got to go to the doctor. But realistically, if it doesn't have a smell, it means you found all the perfect balance. So then you pour it into the glass and you try it. And it's spectacular, because whatever that final ingredient that you use is, and with our old fashioned, we flame an orange on top. We express all that orange on there. So when you bring that glass to your nose, you get that orange, but we don't put any orange in the drink. So you get that, and it's just that level of flavors and things. So, and again, it just goes back to playing around with things and trying to find, failing repeatedly in order to find something cool in order to put on a menu.
Well, you were telling us, I think last time, there's some bitters that you have now that you're trying to make a drink around, but you're not. What is it? What is it that you're doing? How has that happened?
So this story has progressed.
Okay.
This
Has
story
it?
has progressed.
Okay.
So I have recruited some international help with some distillers and friends of mine. It was Plum Bitters. There is a Plum Bitters that I absolutely cannot figure out how to use. I have Googled it. I have got, all sorts of things. I've recruited other bartenders and just couldn't figure it out. And I am currently working on like an English pudding style drink.
Okay.
Because it has that. There's like a sense of like a candy that you can't quite figure out.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that I love about cocktails, like or liquor in general, is when you describe liquor, you're like, oh, it's got caramel notes and toffee and blah blah blah. And when you're talking about wine, it's like, oh, it's dirt and soil and shoe leather. It's
earthy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's earthy and it's always terrible. But yeah, it's always had. So I was sharing that story that
Sorry. Keep going.
I was sharing that story with a friend of mine, an English guy, and he goes, "You know what? This reminds me of English pudding. You got to figure that out." I'm like, "Well, I've never tried it. Thanks for bringing up the ingredient that but I've tried a lot of ingredients, right?" So he couldn't say it was like New York pizza or something, obviously, but so yeah, I've been working on that. It's not
there
I'm
yet.
Closer than zero.
Well,
which
that's
I'm
good.
pretty
Well,
excited about. Yeah.
Well, see, you've got a thing, and you know where you want it to go, and it's when you keep making the music analogies, I keep wanting to jump in and say a same thing, and I'm trying not to, but I'm geeking out because you really are making it a way that I can connect to it. But it definitely is something of, for example, Jay or I could talk about like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a thing with like a disco thing, or we take this and turn it on its head, or we take this thing, so that's the ingredient, that's the bitters, and then it's like there will be a moment where it clicks, of where you want to turn with it, and it's surprising how beautiful of a thing it is to make that happen.
Yeah,
so
I'm excited about the fact that I'm closer, but still bad.
I'm gonna throw this out there for the cold winter months.
Yeah,
that sounds like a good ingredient for a hot toddy.
You'd think so. It's not.
It's not?
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
How's it look?
Is it really?
Because plum is it's like blueberry, right? So when you think about like what a blueberry tastes like, it's almost hard to visualize because blueberry is such a soft flavor, right? It's such I don't know why. Soft. I don't know why I can't. The whole setup here makes me really hear everything.
It's the late night DJ, man.
You want to get some soft flavors.
I cannot get you guys around good microphones. Jeez.
Try my plum bitters.
If you want to try a very soft flavor.
Yeah. I can hear our subscribers unsubscribing.
Yeah. So back to how Plum Bitters is my personal white whale. It really is. That's the thing. I mean, I have obsessed about it for 2.5 years. I got a bottle of it. It's from Fee Brothers, and it's somebody please go out and go on to whatever the long website address that he gave earlier was, and just send in an email. I would love to try it, and then we'll put it together. We'll come back. We'll do it again.
Well, you said bread.
Gmail.
You said bread pudding, right? And
English
like bread pudding. I immediately thought, like a hot caramel bread pudding drink.
Yeah, I don't think that's it. Because when you think about like
some Fireball whiskey, or something?
I don't know that I can go down that road. When I think about like English food that I've tried,
is all horrible.
It's really not. God. It's specific. English food in my mind is specific.
And we've lost everyone in the UK.
Yeah. No, I think it's specific. I have had some delicious.
Don't do it. We seriously had some downloads in the UK. I don't know how this shit's happened.
That's great. Somebody was traveling.
Fish and chips, man.
Somebody.
Can we go for a curry?
But yeah, so that's, to me, it's very. There's a lot of obviously very specific foods, right? But to me, it's all very. Blended, right? All of the blended soft, all of the flavors that are in English cooking to me are all very middle. Everything's in the middle. There's no high spice. There's no low heavy notes or anything like that.
Right.
It's all very much in the middle. So the way that I make my drinks is to balance everything and to do this and to do that. So it's so hard to make a flavor like plum stand out in a very middle of the road flavor palette already.
When everything's already blended already.
So I'm clearly not upset by this, but please, somebody, dear God, or one of the specific Fee brothers could write me a note and tell me, hey.
Well, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I've mentioned their name on here like 9 times. Please, dear God. I don't know your names individually.
I'm sure that they're listening.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they?
I'm sure they're listening to us.
I mean, you're across the pond. You could be all the way in
They're
America.
probably one of those too.
What? So as far as your classes, if someone are you still doing those?
I am. I as a responsible business person, I've put very little effort into marketing or standardizing this whatsoever.
If only you were on a podcast right now.
Yeah, and had or more specifically had a way that you could do it other than just calling my cell phone and saying, "Hey, I'm having a house party."
Okay.
So what if hopefully I'm looking into being on Skill Pop, which is actually something here that was started in Charlotte. So I've got somebody helping me out with that. And info@Stumptown Station is a great way to get a hold of us for those things, because I'll do them online. We actually did my ABCs of Bourbon course. This is actually pretty cool. My ABCs of Bourbon course. I have done it quite often. It's probably the most popular one because we can pair it with all sorts of things. We can pair it with a tasting. We can pair it with a cocktail class. It goes with everything because that is a very short list of A through G. You can make it quick. But that specific course I have done for charity events 11 times now.
Oh, wow.
And we've raised over $40,000 on that class with
awesome.
separate charities.
Yeah,
which
that's
is pretty cool.
fantastic,
Yeah, the
man.
last one we did was with the local police department. We did the Real Men Wear Pink and raised a bunch of money for that. I mean, it was really great. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a cool class to do, and it's always entertaining, And
Yeah.
and the good part about it is that it seems like it would be a very masculine class, right? It's a bourbon class and cigars and all that. And it's not. It's an educational class. And it's, it's going back to my radio voice. That's all, And that was terrible. But yeah, it's a class that's designed for everybody. And if you're interested in where it comes from, what it is, why it is what it is, just in the spirit in general, and just asking questions about it. Because I do more off the cuff in those classes than anything, where people say, "Oh, I heard a story that bourbon comes, or it's in charred white oak barrels because of Elijah Craig," and there's a story about that, and there's a story about all the different other ways that bourbon became bourbon. But it's a fun way to lead a little course on it. But yeah, sadly, right now I don't have a standardized version to do anything about it other than send us an email and we'll figure it out. So
we'll definitely make sure to post your socials and stuff too, so anyone can find that and see next time you're doing that. And maybe we should do something like that. Maybe we should do like a little class making noise.
Actually, I have a class that I've done it twice, and it's always a hit. Where we do what we call back-to-back bartender.
Okay.
And and I'm stealing this idea, so I hope that somebody shows up and sues your podcast for this.
That'd be great.
I mean, I hope they don't.
I would love that.
I'd love some publicity.
Please sue us.
Please.
Please sue us.
Exactly,
For no reason. Sue us for no reason. It'd be great.
Sure, let's go to court. Let's do it.
Anyway, so there was an episode of some show where it was these two chefs, this professional chef and an amateur chef, standing back to back making a product, right? Making some sort of meal.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it'd be a lot of fun to stand and do that. You and I stand and do that. And I explain how to make a cocktail quickly in a bar atmosphere with the tools and all that stuff.
I would totally be down
and then
to
have
do that.
Jay have to drink those terrible drinks and tell us which one came
We'll do
from
a Pepsi
which.
challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Man, that's going back.
I'm totally going to win.
Yeah.
Obviously. Oh, we totally need to do this.
Yeah,
need to
I
do
think
it.
it'd be great.
We should film
man,
it for
it'd
the
be great.
podcast as a short bit. That'd be great.
Oh, this
yeah.
would be great. Well,
I
let's
think
totally
it'd be
do
a
it.
good time. Yeah.
All right. Well, if
I've
you're
done
popping up more,
Hey, if you know anybody that has a bar that's not open right now,
Yeah, right. That's the other thing.
Brandon, do you know anybody where we might be able to shoot this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I have this great, obviously set up.
You can just hand that to me
yeah,
over
there
here.
we go.
We're finishing up after this. I've already had enough.
Yeah,
But keep going.
yeah.
Todd has a thing to do in the morning.
Yeah. Has to do with his calendar.
Oh, yeah, it does.
I just have to look at it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I gotta do.
You just sit backwards in this chair, with your arms on, oh, hello, gentlemen. Happy February 15th.
There's a gentleman in that picture who is in the intro music of our show. Mr. Ian Pasquini is the drummer for the that, and he's pictured there. Sorry for derailing the fun.
No,
He's the one who
know
looks
who he
like a hipster.
Oh,
That
gotcha.
narrows it down
That
for
guy,
Plaza,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
So good.
That was great. I like that. That was a very good one. That's the other thing about because I'm doing shifts all over now, right? Well, and I don't even call them shifts. We do little pop-ups, right? So all over where and the most recently we're at Great Wagon Road on Monday nights.
Oh, absolutely,
and,
yeah.
So we do little pop-ups, and it's funny because I get to be in other towns. Because we're in Matthews, right? So we're in Matthews, North Carolina. It's a great little town to be in. But now I'm going all over, and Noda is such a different place. The North Davidson area is such a different place, and it's very cool to be able to take, and I'm sure you guys get to do this too. It's just very neat to be able to travel about and bring something neat to a different part of town and have people go, wow, I've not seen this or had this or tried this or been a part of this or whatever it is. It's such a cool thing. So because as bartenders, we don't get to travel. You guys get to be in different places all the time.
That's true.
So it's really fun to have like a little road gig and, be at people's homes or, I've been doing Zoom calls lately where.
Really?
Oh, dude, it's great. Yeah. I got a whole new setup, man. It's nothing like, I don't have a superstar. It's actually hilarious because when I walked in, I thought about this because I have to do calls during the day for my work, like for my job, like selling real estate and all that. So behind me, I have a picture of my wife and some flowers, and it looks nice. But then I get on and I start doing like cocktail classes, and it's just like rows of booze behind me because I'm pulling stuff and basically turn my back area into a back bar, right?
Okay.
And if I forget to set it up, which happened to me last week. I have, a Wednesday night class and then a Thursday morning, like, hey, we're going to all get energized. And it's like an 8 a.m. class, which I know, okay, a lot of people.
In front of a bunch of booze.
And in front, and I log in and I'm like, hey, everybody, and I'm trying to like not be the guy that can't speak, right? But obviously.
But you're standing in front of a bunch of booze.
Yeah, but I'm like, hey, how's everybody doing? What's up? And they're like, late night? And I'm like, nah, I look like that. And they're like, look behind you. And I'm like, hey, click, turn the thing off real quick. I just had to like, okay, sorry. And then come back and it's like flowers and my wife and me. And they're like, oh, nice shift change. That was great. And sorry. Yeah, it's always tough.
Oh, the joys of juggling multiple businesses.
Yeah.
And the perceptions of them.
So great.
Yeah.
Man, dude, I really appreciate you coming back on for the second time.
For the second time.
Dude, I love
There's
it. I think it's
a
great.
hidden episode, and we'll see if we can scrounge together what we can get from
Some
that.
blooper reels.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So
we did have a camera or two go out on it. That was the main reason we didn't put it out. But man, we super appreciate this and man, it's great to have you here, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you
so
once
much.
It's a
again.
blast. I can't
We
wait
ought to do the idea.
Yeah, back-to-back bartender, man. When I have to come back and we have to film it for a third time, we'll do that one too.
Ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be. It's been awesome, guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
dude.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Woo.
Well, that was really good, Todd. I'm glad Brandon brought us some
more.
Glad we had some old fashions. It's my birthday.
No, it's not.
It's my birthday.
Okay, it is today.
It's everybody's birthday.
We survived it. Brandon is fantastic. Make sure to check out all the things he's doing. We really appreciate you guys. Make sure to share,
Absolutely.
rate, review, all the fun stuff. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.